Hi everyone, welcome back to Anatomy and Physiology, Human Nervous System Lesson 3. Today we are going to focus on learning the coverings of the brain and the spinal cord. We're going to describe the structure of the spinal cord and its major functions. And finally, we're going to start learning the major parts and functions of the brain. That will go over into Lesson 4. I do want to make a note on this lesson and possibly the next lesson. There will be some videos and some images that are a little more graphic. I just want to give you a warning. We are going to be looking at organs either still in the human or just recently removed. There are also going to be some videos when I post the notes themselves that you will be able to watch, but I will not be showing them because of their graphic nature. They are very accurate surgeries and procedures. I just would rather give you the opportunity to choose whether or not you want to see them rather than show them in this video. So the coverings of the brain are known as the meninges. It's located between the bone and the soft tissue of the brain. There are three main layers. You have the dura mater, which is this outer layer. It has blood vessels that help both feed the bone and the arachnoid layers. The arachnoid matter has no blood vessels. It resembles kind of like a spider web. And then finally, the pia mater, which is your inner membrane. It contains your nerves and blood vessels that help nourish the underlying brain cells. So here when we zoom in, you have your skin on the outer layer. Underneath the skin, you have the periosteum, which directly connects to the skull bone. Then underneath the bone, you have the dura mater, the arachnoid matter, and the pia mater. And then underneath all that, you have the brain. The cerebrospinal fluid is found surrounding the brain itself, between the brain and the skull. It surrounds the brain and the spinal cord. It helps to cushion the brain and serves as a shock absorber. So if you get bumped into or you get hit in the head, what happens is your brain kind of bounces back and forth. In physical activities like football, when a football player gets hit and knocked to the ground, their brain can sometimes hit back and forth in the skull, which can lead to concussion. What a concussion is when the brain is hitting back and forth into the skull. The dura mater here is being pulled away, so you can see the brain underneath. You can see it's just a very thin layer that goes around the brain itself. It connects directly into the skull, and the cerebrospinal fluid will be kind of in between it. Injuries that can occur. A subdural hematoma. Basically what happens is you have blood that kind of leaks in and sets on the brain because there's no easy way for it to escape out. So it's usually associated with some sort of traumatic brain injury. And the blood will gather between the dura mater and the brain, and it puts pressure on the brain, which obviously can cause problems. There are going to be a couple of videos here. This is a repair of a subdural hematoma. So they basically go in, they remove the skull, they open up the dura mater, and they use basically like a saline solution to kind of wash the blood away. Typically, if it's sat for a while, it congeals, so it kind of just slides off. If you want to watch the video, it'll be in this slideshow when I post it. Here's another one of a person having a brain tumor removed. And during a lot of the procedures, like a removal of a brain tumor or brain surgeries, especially with adults, they actually have the patient awake. So that way they can see if what they're doing is affecting certain motor functions or if it's affecting speech patterns or things like that. Because if they are even off by a millimeter when they are working in the brain, you can lose the ability to speak or the ability to control fine motor movements in certain areas of your body. The spinal cord itself, we learned about the vertebrae, how they were divided into the three segments, the cervical, thoracic, and lumbar, and then you had your sacral area at the end. Spinal cord's divided the same way. Throughout the vertebral canal, you have the spinal cord, which is your nerves. There are 31 segments, each with a pair of spinal nerves. There is an enlargement up here at the top that allows the nerves to enter in and supplies the nerves to your upper limbs and your neck area. So the nerves that control your arms are located further up here versus ones that are going to control your lower limbs, which are going to be further down. The lumbar enlargement supplies nerves to your lower limbs and your lower back, so that's going to be down here. You have ascending impulses that travel to the brain. Makes sense? Ascending goes up to the brain. Descending are your motor, which goes out to your body. The nerves are numbered based on their location, just like the vertebrae were numbered based on their location. So your cervical nerves, 1 through 8, so cervical nerve 1 is above 1, then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 is at the bottom of 7. And then T1 actually starts below. So T1 through T12 are all below. Same with the L1 through L5. And then you have your sacral and coccygeal nerves at the bottom. We're going to go ahead and move on to the brain. There are going to be three main parts of the brain. The cerebrum, which is the big, large part of the brain that we typically think of. You have the cerebellum, which is the smaller part down here. And then you have the brain stem, which actually comes out and down your spinal cord. So the cerebrum, here you can see, this is what a brain actually looks like when it's in a human. So the large wrinkly part of the brain is known as your cerebrum, also can be referred to as the cerebral cortex. These are involved in higher mental functioning and problem solving. And this is also the last part of your brain to develop. Your brain develops from the back to the front. And so the front part of your brain is that decision-making part, the rational thinking part. So this will continue developing until you're roughly around the age of 25. So as I was saying, this is going to be the last part of your brain to fully develop, and this is where the rational decision-making part is. The cerebellum is this part back here. The white matter inside of it looks like a tree, so therefore it's called arbor vitae. And what the cerebellum does is balance and coordination. These are going to be more of the things that you don't actually think about doing. And finally, the brainstem. It regulates the visceral functions of the autonomic nervous system. So this is going to be things like your involuntary movements. It's going to be breathing. It's going to be blinking. It's going to be your stomach digesting stuff. It's things that go on that you don't have to tell your body to do. So the brainstem is going to be this part here. You have your cerebrum all up here. Then you have the cerebellum, which you can kind of see the lines on here. And then the brainstem here in the middle. So what we're going to focus on a little bit next time is going to be learning some of these other ones here. But we talked about the meninges, which are the coverings, the cerebrum, which is the higher functioning part of the brain, the cerebellum, which controls more regulatory things, and then the brainstem and spinal cord, which controls your involuntary processes. There is going to be an assignment on the website for the classroom. Please make sure to complete it. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me anytime and I will get back to you.